Greetings, brethren. We're back today on a beautiful Saturday, July 23rd, 2022. I'm with Michael in Germany on the internet. We are on Skype, and we have the 40th session of our series in the conspiracy video on John F. Kennedy. And here we are with the Pink Panther. Michael, welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Brad. Hello, dear listeners, once and for all. I think that's the loveliest introduction picture we had. So this is the Pink Panther session. What's it all about?
I haven't looked at the script yet, Michael, but I was just thinking, you know, this is a type of look at, you know, what exactly happened. You know, you have the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and then you have all these different things going on, and one of them being which is promoted by Hollywood, I think, the Pink Panther. You know, that was such a popular series here in the United States. My dad was really into it. He just loved Peter Sellers.
Mm-hmm.
The comedian, just loved him, and he went and saw the movies, and oh yeah, that was a big deal, you know. But that's sensationalism, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah, well, will go into the movie of Peter Sellers maybe in the next session. This is just Pink Panther for a certain reason here, because there's not only a bunch of television movies or cinema movies, but also a comic strip of Pink Panther, which later followed then at the end of the 60s. But the first Pink Panther movie was in the same year when Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. So much for coincidences. And of course, that anybody in the assassination business or in the conspiracy business or any researcher absolutely knows when it comes down to the Pink Panther, what's it all about. Of course, if I show you the Zapruder frame, for example, 320, or a little bit later, or a little bit much later, and you see that this lady has been mentioned, the Pink Panther. And this is Jackie Kennedy, or Jacqueline. She preferred to be called Jacqueline Kennedy. So what's it all about? This is the second last script I did on the conspiracy series, because we will have about, I think, 3 sessions about what's it all about and what all the conspiracy theories about what happened actually in the motorcade, and therefore we will fight our ways through all the mess and try to have one clear outcome in the end. And so the following 3 sessions will be about the real assassination and all the things left and right to it. And after that, there is only one final script where we will deal with all the background, especially when it comes down to the conclusions, who's behind it. And of course, yeah, you will be very surprised, because I know of many researchers who came up with very interesting things, and I tried to summon them up, but I found also some things which I don't think that anybody had pointed his finger to. So I hope that you will not be entertained, but you will follow them and you will really see what's what in this world. And it has not changed. It got even worse since the demise of Kennedy. So this is Pink Panther, the first part. In the German series, this is the outro, when the Pink Panther then says to the elephant, okay, come on, let's go. Yeah, don't snorkel around here, don't drink any water, but it's time to go home. But he's flashing up a 666 sign. And of course, that is for the exoteric people. This is just, oh yeah, okay, and all is fine. But actually, the officially and the origin of it is just a 666 sun god. Yeah, you see that from small children on, people will be indoctrinated. And also this is very interesting, because in the second session, we will use that elephant. Yeah, so when it comes down to next week, we will use that elephant because there is just a favorite thing around the world which shall not be mentioned, and that differs from time to time. That's called the elephant in the room. And what's the elephant in the room since 2019, huh? So this is just the first part of 3 parts on the Pink Panther when it comes down to the assassination of JFK, and this is called Operation Mockingbird. So let's get it started. You see, all the 666 means the pagan sun god. So coming down from the original movie JFK from Oliver Stone or from the early 90s, the question were asked, why was Kennedy killed, who profited it, and who had the power to cover it up? And then he flashes the 666 sign together with a black ring. So 666, once again, they had the power to cover it up. We already talked about that. And later on, Oliver Stone showed the famous Washington Monument, which is nothing more, nothing less than the obelisk. So once again, 666, like Pink Panther. Yeah. So what's it all about? It's just about the powers to be. It's just about the background to the JFK assassination. But to understand the background, we have to solve the riddle of what happened actually at the assassination. And that's a hard task to do because there's so many distractions in it. So first of all, 666 is not only limited to the sun god, but 666 means the pagan god. And yeah, that's just what it is. It's the number of the beast in the book of Revelation, and this is just 666. And even robots nowadays, kitchen robots, etc., they learn how to do that sign, huh? Sure, robots do everything that they are programmed to. And when we talk about transhumanism, you see, well, we are facing very dark times very soon, I suppose. So everybody who thinks that we are approaching some times that will likely be very great, and so that you have been pre-programmed by Hollywood, by, for example, using Skynet. Yeah, Skynet seems to be a massive program with artificial intelligence, and this is coming from the Terminator 2 movie of the beginning of the 90s. Yeah, when also JFK was released, that movie, especially from Oliver Stone. Yeah, and what do we have today? We have clouds, we have internet, we have the Internet of Things, we have AI, we have metaverse. Yeah, so all the things are coming together. So that transhumanism and all the things, absolute control over the dominion over the world. Yeah, digital currencies, digital IDs. Yeah, so this is just the industry making fun of us, that we really think that it's just science fiction. Yeah, because all this Terminator is also, there's a skeleton beneath that human apparition here. And we know that it's just sci-fi, just the Hollywood actor Arnold Schwarzenegger, who happened to become a governor later on. Nobody would have expected that in 1992, I think, Brad, that Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was playing the Terminator in 3 movies, later went to become the governor of California.
Right.
Yeah. So there is also a Skynet program, which has nothing to do with JFK so far, but it just has another name, and the NSA. So you see that all the things they are putting out in front of you, that means that we are facing violent times, we are facing transhumanoid times, we are facing absolute control, dominion, worldwide government, worldwide control, artificial intelligence, etc., etc. And people, they are lusting for power. Yeah, the people in power, they want to play God for themselves. And the NSA, of course, they have a program like Skynet, yeah, called Skynet. It's just all programming. It's just all programming. And you see that there are so many powers to be that usually the average John Doe does not know about. This is the flag of the Sovereign Military Knights of Malta, and this is from the official webpage. They say about linking diplomacy with aid, so they're just trying to help you. The diplomatic relations which the sovereign Order of Malta enjoys with 112 countries, and the European Union its permanent observer status at the United Nations, and international cooperation agreements concluded with over 50 states, access to facilitate its humanitarian activities and allow unrestricted and protected access, especially in crisis regions. Yeah, sure. They, with their organizations like the International Red Cross and Maltese Cross, yeah, you see that they get along on every battlefield without being harmed, without being suspicious, and they can collect information. Of course, they can also collect blood and make money with that. They can collect prisoners, they can collect hurt people, but they collect information. So this is also a secret society. This is a sovereign military order of Malta. You see that they have absolutely forgotten, Brett. They have absolutely forgotten to insert military order of Malta. Huh? That must be an accident, must it?
Yeah. I think it's a PR thing. Mark.
Yeah, sure.
Public relations.
Yeah. So the order's diplomatic network strengthens the relationship within the governments of the countries in which it operates. This network allows its medical programs to be integrated into national and regional healthcare systems and to facilitate the importing of healthcare equipment to reach people in need as quickly as possible. It's all just to help you. Yeah, it's about medical programs together with the Sovereign Military Knight of Malta. Well, I found that picture here, which I thought it was very telling. This picture is from 1971, depicting a little boy running away from an injection. But I'm not commenting it because I think that you have your own 2 cents about that. And so we are getting back to Kennedy. Yeah, so the powers to be behind of Kennedy, of course, is also the Sovereign Military Knight of Malta. And we have to sort out the facts, which is fiction and which is facts. Yeah, so there are also plays, there are novels, and it's hard to find out the truth. Yeah, so Frame 312 about an alleged assassination on Kennedy with the Zapruder movie. You see that it's really hard to sort out all the facts. But yeah. I just want to start somewhere. Somewhere means that we have to face the fact that we have to look at everything and we have to question everything. And we have to question all these prolific investigators. We have also to question every prolific researcher. We have also to question every scientist, especially when they are telling you, for example, that the less babies women will bear, the longer these children will live, as if there were no other factors to that, like hygiene, like wealth, like development, like medical supply. Yeah, it's just that you should not have any babies. This is the world famous statistic professor called Hans Rosling showing the facts about population. Yeah, you see that when it corresponds, it does not mean necessarily that it is a cause. Yeah, that's that they are tricking you. Yeah, don't rely on any statistics. Yeah. So when scientists are telling you that the date for the end of the world, the date for the end of the world is 2040, that is the outcome of a study of the Club of Rome, and I don't know any positive Club of Rome. I only know Club of Rome who are terrifying the people, who are saying that we have the end of the growth, and there's also some famous Club of Rome, I think the wealthiest and mightiest one, since more than 1,000 years busy to suppress the people, especially to suppress the truth, right, Brett?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So when in Matthew 24:35, I could have made better. Jesus Christ said something about the end of the world. That's 35.
Yes, and that reads, "Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away."
Yeah. And so it's absolutely futile to try to save the earth. But it's also very futile to boast about that you know the exact date, because in the very next verse it has been stated,
"But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only.
Yeah. But there are some scientists who are smarter than anything else. Yeah. It's absolutely futile. You see that all the people think that they are smarter than God. Yeah. So please beware of people who are playing tricks on you, talking about statistics. You see, this picture just tells it all. You see, they are just lying straight in your face. Straight in your face. Okay, but now for something completely different, because you were here to listen to a session about conspiracies in general and JFK especially, and very explicitly into the assassination of the President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. I have to debunk, first of all, a very famous conspiracy theory. This is the theory that the Secret Service Special Agent Hickey, in the follow-up car, he had an AR-15 rifle, and he was just shooting Kennedy accidentally. Yes, sure. The killing of Kennedy by accident. Yeah. And this is absolutely impossible. I will hand over certain reasons to that. The first and foremost reason is very simple. It's so simple that, yeah, that AR-15, Brad, do you know what AR-15 stands for?
Automatic rifle.
AR means Armalite rifle, AR-10, AR-15. And that's an American rifle too. Yeah, so I tell American rifle because it is the place of origin is American rifle, and therefore I say that can't be the weapon that killed Kennedy. Brett, can you imagine why?
Oh yeah, I can. I surely can after doing all these sessions with you.
Yeah, so that all
in all the depth and intensity that you have studied this. I'll let you do the talking.
Yeah, but you see that it's quite hilarious. You see that first of all, they came up with the German origin of a Mauser rifle when it comes down to the assassination of Kennedy from the perspective of Lee Harvey Oswald, and then suddenly, blang, they changed it to the Italian Carcano rifle. Yeah,
but Michael, I have an idea, and please forgive me if I spoil it for you. But I might not. I don't know. I'm just going to put this out there. Now, we know that the Zapruder movie's been really messed with, and that we can't verify how John F. Kennedy's body was, the state his body was in, how many wounds, how many wounds he had to his body and what type of manner, all of these things happened. There were many eyewitnesses, but we have to trust that they're telling the truth. So I think it leaves us in a very difficult place. So the thing I was thinking is what happened if he died from something other than a rifle wound?
The thing is that he ought to be died from an Italian rifle. You see that you have to see the connection to Italy.
Sure.
Yeah. So therefore you have to be aware that they changed the rifle. Yeah, even that we pointed out in one of the last sessions from Jack White that he said, oh, they are showing you different rifles. Yeah, even. and so it had to be an Italian Mancha Carcano rifle, a weapon which was constructed in the 19th century even. Yeah, so it's a very decent weapon. It is not sophisticated like the AR-15 or something like this. But, and it's a big but, you see that it's all about symbolism. And in symbolism, the AR-15 would not fit. Yeah, and so that is absolutely unlikely that something happened that way. Yeah. Also, it has some other reasons which you soon will see. But this is just the first hint. An Armalite rifle, which is also an American rifle, cannot be the cause of the wound of Kennedy, at least not the fatal wound, because he had to be shot with an Italian rifle. That's the official story. So yet you have a conclusion that something with Italy has to do with the killing of Kennedy. And of course, you all know what I'm talking about. So once again, to go to this. Even the president allegedly had inspected an AR-15 rifle in the White House. So on 15th of April, or in April 1963, so half a year before his demise, he inspected that rifle. Yeah.
With LBJ sitting right there, huh?
I don't know. No, I don't think that's him.
Kind of looks like him though. Yeah, it does.
I don't know, but you see that it's not the point.
Maybe it's not him. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
He is military aide, Chester Clifton. I think it is Chester Clifton.
Oh, Clint. Okay.
Yeah, but it's not the point. You see, the point is that yeah, it could also be an M16, but I'm not a weapon expert. You see that in Germany we don't carry any weapons here usually, at least if you are not a hunter or a policeman or so. And so I think that this is just a theory which will not will face the fact, and it will not stand the test of time. Yeah. The problem is that in this theory, or in this play here, in this movie, or so to speak, in this fabrication here, it is necessary that Oswald shot, and that's of course the first error. And there are many other errors here with the lineup of people and all the things, but just for the heck of it, the first one officially missed, but I don't know why he's scratching his back here, or scratching his head here. And then Mr. Hickey depicted here the follow-up car. He, of course, looked back, and he was in the Altgen 6. He was one of 4 people, I think, who looked back, but not back and above. But in this fabrication, he looked on above to the 6th floor window here. Yeah, 33, 33 Freemason window here. And then, allegedly, Oswald shot for the second time with the famous throat shot with the magic bullet, yeah, through Kennedy and through Connolly the same time. I think it was 7 wounds, 7, huh? 7, why 7, Brad? 7, the divine number, yeah. Magic bullet, yeah, which then struck both of them almost simultaneously. And then, of course, the Secret Service had to be blamed, and Hickey said, okay, that's enough. Yeah, I have to get rid of that bastard or what else. And he was pulling out his gun, yeah, and he was pulling back the safety. And then he was able to shoot with his big new armor-light weapon. Yeah, and then allegedly Mr. Clint Hill, he was facing the danger, and he was about to be assigned to the First Lady, and he was shooting off to the presidential limousine, and then Hickey got off, and by accident now a bullet, bang, was fired to Kennedy and struck him fatally. That's now.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, there are thousands of people who are falling for that theory. Even books, Mortal Error, have been written about that. Even researchers are claiming that, oh yeah, that is a possibility. And I think the real researchers will absolutely reject that theory here because of different problems. Yeah, very different problems. Yeah, you see, to fire from the left behind to the right behind of the car in front of you, and in that angle to kill the president, it's a hilarious accident. He could have also shot other people in the car. He could have shot Clint Hill. It's hilarious, but it's really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. And now you see that famous Pink Panther here. That's why I chose to show you that movie. Or that clip, actually. Yeah, yeah. You see that what's not happened. Yeah, many people believe that, but I'm not. Yeah, and then of course you know that all the forged and faked autopsies in the medical center, which is also an intelligence medical center, which has absolutely different outcome than in the Parkland Hospital in Dallas. It does not make a sense, and there are at least one few people who have common sense on that video. I will show that, and this is one of them. This is Q Continuum, and he says, when an unsilenced gun is fired immediately in front of dozens of people, guess what?
They notice it, yeah.
Yeah, there was no eyewitness who said that, okay, there was somebody who fired to the president. Some of them saw a man with a gun. Yeah, that's absolutely spot on. But nobody saw somebody from the Secret Service follow-up car shooting the president, and nobody heard a shot from that. But Queen of Heaven, you see, that requires such a hilarious task. You have to get in a position very high above. You have to stand in your seat and then to shoot in an angle down that you don't hurt your own limousine, your own windscreen. Even that, I know that the Elm Street is a little bit going down. Even that, it's so hilarious. It's absolutely unlikely that it happened that way. But you see that my first point is that it's an Armalite, it's an American rifle, can't be. So that any conclusion also of the original outcome of the 3 shots is even unlikely, said the Jesuitical Judge Edward Haggerty. He says that it cannot be admitted as evidence, and he later was being removed because of strange parties with I don't speak any further, but that's just another thing. You don't have to trust the Secret Service as well. This is an interview with the Secret Service boss Rowley, and Rowley is the head of every Secret Service agent in the United States at the time of the assassination of Kennedy. And even in that documentary, or in that publicity here on page 18, we find the following conversation. Mr. Rankin, which is the interviewer, is asking the head of the Secret Service, quote, "Are you doing anything about the use of equipment that might help you to secure information about any particular locality the president was going to travel to more readily?" Answer, Mr. Rowley, "In connection with the PRS?" Mr. Rankin, answer, "Yes." Mr. Rowley, head of the Secret Service, reply, quote, "Well, we have conferred with the IBM. Can I go off record on this?" And then the chairman says yes, and then there is a discussion off of the record, and then the chairman says, okay, now back on the record, and Mr. Rankin, the interviewer, said, quote, listen please carefully, "Chief Rowley, you have described off the record certain matters that involve the security of the country and cannot be made public." Yeah, so you can throw all the results of the Warren Commission into your garbage can with full force. So the Warren Commission is not to handle the truth, it's just to get rid of every evidence, and even the Secret Service boss may not speak about anything because it would matter to the security of the country, or national security. And that's also the reason why until this very day, many of any records have not been made public for national security and safety reasons. So don't trust the Secret Service. Don't trust any Secret Service, and don't trust any policeman. Police been controlled in Dallas by a 33-degree Freemason called Jesse Curry at that time. And you even wonder about the religion of Mr. Rowley here, maybe. You don't have to worry anymore. He was, of course, a Roman Catholic. And he joined the United States Secret Service. And I don't know for what reason. He was having an interview by Neil M. Johnson, Harry Truman Library, 1988, 4 years before he deceased. And he was interviewed, "Did you have any brothers and sisters?" And he replied, "Yes, I have a brother, a Jesuit priest, and a sister." I don't know why it had been mentioned here, but maybe he was proud of it. I don't know. But these all have ties to the clerical issues. No? Father Francis Rowley, S.J. Yeah. It's all this. It's all the same stuff. You see that SMOM. So it's just an insider job. Yeah, it's just inside. And now they want to get people on the moon once again. Question mark. Once again, the NASA. It's also government legislation, government organization, but they have gotten rid of all the technology. Because it would not stand the test of time. Yeah, it would also not stand the test of research, but we know that it's all just a blatant lie. All these government agencies are lying. These are secret organizations. NASA has so many secrets. I think they maybe have more secrets than the FBI and CIA. They also only fool the people. Yeah, they could go to the moon in a nanosecond. Yeah, but yeah, prove it. Yeah, they don't have the technology. But now they have the technology, and it's called Artemis. It's the name of a former goddess. Sure. My. You can kick everything you see, you can kick in the garbage can. That's why I came up with that great illustration here. Can you recall what that is coming from?
No.
Oh, that's the Monty Python Ministry of City Walks.
Oh.
You can really kick that in the garbage can. Okay, but now for something really completely different. I'm sorry to quote Monty Python there so frequently, and I know they are anti-Christian in some regards, but I really love that character of John Cleese, so I can't help it, sorry. So now we can finally get back on the track with John F. Kennedy and his admirable wife, Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy, and this is from younger times when they were a young couple. So this is a picture taken when they were just, I don't know, engaged, married or whatsoever, but in younger times, as you see with Kennedy. She was 12 years younger than him. He's born in 1917, she's born in 1929. I don't want to have any gossip here, just say that for your general understanding. So compare, please, this picture here with the picture 8 seconds before the death of Kennedy, which is frame 161. This is almost this location here. This is frame 160, where most probably that guy here has shooting the picture here. And that is the picture that he was shooting. It's about 8.3 seconds, if the Zapruder movie would be correct, and in chronological order, which it isn't, before the impact of the fatal bullet. So 8 seconds before the fatal hit. And now, please, Brad, please describe the moods of the people in that limousine.
Yeah, I would say pretty stark.
Imagine they were on a campaign to generate votes for the re-election of JFK for president in 1964. So usually what they did, when you see that all the pictures here in Dallas, JFK, you usually see crowds of waving people. You see here Jackie Kennedy smiling, the governor greeting, everybody's having a really great time, except the Queen Mary. Yeah, but you see that they were trying to get votes. Yeah, people are greeting, they are greeting again, they are looking to the people, smiling all over again, greeting the people. And suddenly, when it comes down to the Elm Street, 8 seconds before the fatal hit, the mood swing appears. Bang. And that's so simple. Keep it simple, stupid. That's so simple that everybody tells about, yeah, this is in the background, this is him, this is her, and this is Connolly, and this is a bunch of roses and all the things. No, you only have to see about the gesture of the people. Yeah, that tells it all. They are. It looks like a funeral. Doesn't it look like a funeral, Brad?
Well, if you subtract Kennedy, because Kennedy doesn't really suspect anything.
Yeah,
it looks like to me that Kennedy could still be having a smile and communicating with all of the people there. They're waving to him, and he might be waving back. But Jacqueline, on the other hand, looks like she has a frown on her face, and same with Connolly.
It looks like that she was saying, like, I don't like to be pictured now.
Right. Yes. Yes. Put away that camera.
Yeah, get away with the camera. Yeah. Yeah. Usually, she has to play the nice wife. It
looks like she's looking right at the camera, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She said that, oh, it was so terribly hot, she told the Warren Commission.
I wonder what that means. I wonder what that means.
It was the 22nd of November. Can you imagine what terribly hot means? It's not July, it's November.
Maybe she means in a different sense, Michael.
Oh, she said to the Royal Commission that she was really looking forward to the tunnel of the underpass and the Didi Plaza to get a breeze of fresh air. Although you see the flags on the presidential limousine waving and waving and waving, so there was air.
Right.
It's so hilarious. You see that nobody in that car tells you the truth. And nobody has a jolly good time except John F. Kennedy, but that will change very soon. And this is key to understand, that you cannot be fooled with any data, with any records, with any commission, with any scientist. You just have to follow your instinct, which has been given to you by God. You have to follow your common sense. You have just to look at the picture to see that something is not that, they are not having that jolly good time than they had a few streets before. Yeah. So this is 160. This is before any shot, most likely, because JFK looks very relaxed there. Yeah. So see, this is also research. You don't get into complicated matters. Look at the simple things. Look at the picture, and you see that, oh no, she's not feeling comfortable. Yeah, he's feeling very concentrated, or so. I don't know. He's looking to his wife. His wife looks to him. They're not looking to the people. Yeah, she's looking to the photographer. They are not looking to the people. Everybody is looking to some other direction than they are used to be, because on that side here, there are not so much people, but also she's not waving. Very strange, Elm Street. Yeah, and you see that is absolutely no secret that JFK was not a great husband.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So what's up with that? So we start with Jackie Kennedy, because she's also a suspect that she might know something more than she told us before. So what's the background? The background is his father called John Venu Bouvier III. So you see that from this gesture alone, who would you, or what would you, how would you describe that man, Brett? Just keep it simple.
How would I describe him?
Yeah, how would you say if you were? Yeah, if you were meeting that guy, what would you do to describe? Would you say he's sympathetic, or he's open-minded?
No, he looks very concentrated.
Yeah, yeah, and he rejects also to approach you because he has crossed his arms, and he's he's good dressed, yeah, so he has good manners or something like this. So he's not, he's kind of a wealthy-looking guy who's a bit reserved, huh?
Yes,
let's say, let's
right.
point it this way, yeah. So he was just getting 66. He was a stockbroker in profession, and he was the father of the first lady, Jacqueline. Yeah, and so all the mess begins. His family was moving to Philadelphia after fighting in the Napoleonic Wars. And then you now know where their origin is. Napoleon, yeah, it's France, of course. And then his family made a fortune in real estate speculation. And then all the mess starts with this father of Jacqueline Kennedy. While attending Yale, he was member of the Book and Snake Secret Society.
Huh. Never heard of this one before.
Yeah, you see that Yale usually has been known for the Skull and Bones, no?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. As you see that you got a closed temple. Yeah, you see you got a temple here, right? Yeah, with no windows. Yeah, so it is absolutely the same as Freemason. And you got
Masonic, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you got here two snakes circulating, and you got a flame on top, the same flame that you have on top, for example, on the obelisk in Didi Plaza. So Book and Snake.
Or the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. Book of Snake, it's fourth oldest secret society, Yale University. First society to induct women, and they were bearing Sigma Delta Chi. So then from Codeword Babylon, we know that the origin is Freemasonic. Yeah, all the Greek letter societies are actually. So it's her father was a member of Freemasonic Charter or Freemasonic Society. That's the first one. And when you compare that to the Texas School Book Depositorium, it's really strange, but from the backside, where the majority of photographs only picture the 6th floor window from the Elm Street side, but from the North Houston side, you see that is also there is a line of non-existing windows here. Yeah. So that what I was suspecting that there are some resemblance to any temples, to any secret societies. So they only got their tomb, and it's a tradition that building is windowsless and usually available only to the current members and alumni. Yeah, of course, it's windowsless. Yeah, they have to hide something, huh? Yeah, usually nobody tells you the backside of the Texas School Depositorium. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And many people say that, okay, yeah, skull and bones, of course. Yeah, that's 322, and that's gematria, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, etc. I don't think so. I think that's BS. Of course, the Nazi secret societies and Nazi commandos, they had also that skull, which is, of course, a depiction of death. Huh? It's nothing else. Yeah, it's nothing of worth here. It's just death. It's pure, simple death, nothing to do with being human. Yeah, so it's not gematria. It's just too complicated. Once again, keep it simple, stupid. And this is from Genesis chapter 3, verse 22. And that is my opinion what the skull and bones 322 letters or numbers actually means, Brett.
That's right. And Genesis chapter 3, verse 22 reads, "And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever."
Yeah, so to know good and evil is the outcome of the touching or eating the forbidden fruit. Yeah, so they wanted to achieve wisdom. Yeah, and yeah, that's the promise of the serpent. Yeah, and so that is also the chapter 3, where the first verse in the chapter 3 is, "And the serpent was more subtle than any other beast of the fields." That's the first verse of Genesis chapter 3. Yeah, and you got the serpent, which is promising knowledge. Yeah, you see that depicted here in the Yale Society called The Book and Snake. It's a snake. Yeah, you see that. Wow, the book and snake. Yeah, what book the snake is so famously depicted? Oh my. Yeah, so the snake usually has been seen as wisdom. Also in the Greek societies, the snake is a symbol for wisdom. Yeah, you see that even in covers of Imagination. It's a pop group of the 80s. Yeah, Just an Illusion. Yeah, you see that snake on a column. Yeah, which is also, of course, a symbol for the tree of life, or the tree of good and evil. Yeah, you see it's a snake, a serpent. Yeah, and they are very successful. Everybody who's worshipping the snake or Satan. Well, get back to John Bouvier, who was a Freemason. He was not also a Freemason, but he was a hereditary member of the Maryland Society of the Cincinnati, like George Washington was.
That's
Cincinnati,
right.
Yeah, Cincinnati after the Roman consul. Yeah, so he was more Roman Catholic than anything else. Yeah, being in the Rome, a member of the Cincinnaticus and a Freemason at the same time. Yeah, Society of Cincinnati. Yeah, and we have made versions about that early on in the very early sessions about the Society of Cincinnati, that many founding fathers interpreted the various political crises of the 70s, 60s, and 70s not as simple disagreements between England and colonies, but as a ministerial conspiracy. And that's also here the thing about the society. This is German, I apologize for that. The Society of Cincinnati. Yeah, that's all the same people. They're just trying to take over America. They take over America. They're the sacrificed King John F. Kennedy. Yeah. So in 1940, he was also a member of the Society of Cincinnati. So that is the dad of the wife of John F. Kennedy, but it gets much more worse. Yeah, he was an alcoholic. He had extramarital connections, so to speak, and therefore they split up. And so Jacqueline Kennedy got a stepfather with the name of Auchincloss, which is a surname of Scottish origin. I said, oh, Scottish. Yeah, very interesting. Scottish. Does not remind me only of whiskey, but of Scottish rite, of course. So. Yeah, and then his father, or her father, sorry, deceased in 1957. So that's so much so. let's get back to the nitty-gritty. So Mrs. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, yes, of course. Or Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis, and much of the like. Yeah, she was 1929 to 1994, just got 64. So now look at this. This is her last partner. This is called Maurice Tempelsman. The first thing which came up to me was during their relationship, he handled Onassis, so Mrs. Kennedy's finances, quadrupling the $26 million that that was secured from her late husband's estate. So it's all about money, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What does the Bible tell about mammon? You can't serve God and mammon. You can't serve two masters. Meet Jacqueline Lee Jackie Kennedy Onassis nee Bouvier. Yeah? After graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in French literature, French, you know her origin, from George Washington University, beware, a Freemason university, in 1951, she started working for the Washington Times Herald as an inquiry photographer. The following year, she met then Congressman John Kennedy at a dinner party in Washington. He was elected to the Senate that same year, and the couple married on September the 12th, 1953. Well, that would be very, 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 that would only be Wikipedia, but we are interested in the things which really happened. Of course, she was listed as one of Gallup's most admired men and women of the 20th century. You see that you can throw that also in the garbage can. That doesn't tell anything about the character. So she died in 1994, and she was buried alongside her husband or ex-husband, President Kennedy. And I know that there are many people who are not agreeing to that thing, and I am one of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not that she's not buried there, or maybe she's not buried there, but she does not belong there. Mm-hmm. So in the younger age, she was having her hobby, her spare time with horse riding, with a fancy dress depicting a swastika. Many people say that, oh yeah, you see she's coming from a fascist household. We can't tell, but we know that this swastika is also a symbol of the sun, also the symbol here of happiness, etc., in the Asian communities of Buddha, for example. Yeah, but also this swastika also means the sun, of course, and Roman Catholic means the sun religion. And there's also in Germany, especially to that time in the Second World War, there was a Black Sun movement or a Black Sun religion. The Black Sun allegedly coming out of the earth, also a Freemason mythology. And what does that tell you? When the sun is below the earth, then it means that your God or your sun is living down under, or 10 feet below or 6 feet below, I don't know, but it's also a very negative. Black sun. Yeah, it's just the absence of light that means black. Yeah, but officially, Kennedy and Bouvier shared the similarities of Catholicism. So when she is into Catholicism, then I would sort out the fact that maybe she was into Indian things, but everybody would apologize it because many people wore that. You see that here on that item here, and for fashion reasons or whatsoever, she was just about, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years old. Yeah, so. Once again, and it's not a symbol for Christ, that many people tell you. So she was speaking English, French, Spanish, and Italian, and particularly French. She was being mentioned as, quote, a darling child, the prettiest little girl, very clever, very artistic, and full of the devil. And now I got the problem, because I'm not a native English speaker or American, that full of the devil can mean a lot of things. Yeah, it can mean that you are very energetic. It can mean that you are full of crazy things. Yeah, always making mischief.
Mischief. Yeah, mischief.
Yeah, it can also mean that you are clever. So what would you think that full of the devil means in that context, Brett?
Could mean all of the above too.
All of the above. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Tough to say without knowing this character.
Yeah. So let's face the fact that she is described as very clever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not a stupid housewife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So the marriage of her father was strained by the father's alcoholism and extramarital affairs. Yeah, that's very interesting because that is a similarity to Kennedy as well.
Yeah.
Jackie's stepfamily was the elite Auchincloss family. Her stepfather's second wife before Jackie's mother was Senator Thomas Gore's daughter. Her stepfather was in naval intelligence. Oh, alarm bell, alarm bell, alarm bell. Yeah, so even her stepfather was a secret service or had secrets. Yeah, he was bearer of some secrets. He was in naval intelligence. Coming from the book Bloods of the Illuminati. So whatsoever, it gets worse. It gets really worse. Now look at this. Jacqueline Bouvier also regarded her stepfather as a close paternal figure. I have to apologize and know that we have no biblical contact here, but I have to have a picture what drives people in power. So that we already know that there are no ordinary people, no representative of the state, either in the case of Kennedy, who was filthy rich, and neither in the case of his first lady, because you see naval intelligence and all connected to politics against it. These are no dishwashers. Yeah. So let's get it on. She spent her junior year in France at the University of Grenoble in Grenoble, sure, and at the Sorbonne in Paris in a study abroad program through Smith College. So she was in Paris or in France for 1 year. Yeah. Later, afterwards, she was absolving at the Georgetown University a study in American history, whatever that means. Yeah, so she was at a Jesuitical university, Georgetown University, one of the most famous universities in the United States, especially when it comes down to Jesuits. But what happened in Paris? Well, we got several things. New York Times says that transformed Mrs. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. That's her here on the ocean steamer here. 1 year in Paris or 1 year in France by a certain journalist called Anne-Mar. We will later come to her as well. So this Anne-Mar has been describing her years in Paris, and she lived in a majestic 7-story building on Avenue Mozart with a host family. Yeah, so you are not a regular student, I guess, Brett, when you are living here, huh?
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. Yeah. So let's get it on. Jacqueline Kennedy often left Paris for weekends at the Château de Coron, the great country estate of the aristocratic de Genève family, about 40 miles from Paris. Would you think that is your usual holiday when you're a student?
No.
Not exactly.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So, de Genève. I have not looked it up. Genève family. I would not be surprised if there would be some. Look at this. When there is some relatives with the Roman Catholic or Holy Roman Empire. Yeah. Yeah, you see, de Genève means from Genève or of Genève. This means lesser nobility as well. Huh? So that even in the name, it's just been not hidden, but just been clearly that these are not regular tax slaves, so to speak. But you see that just want to proceed here. Okay, so then we know that she was having a kind of elite thinking because she was only among themselves, among these people who have really a big wealth and all this lifestyle, so to speak. Yeah, this is just one room with them. Yeah, you're a student when you are 19 years old or 20. Yeah, you live here in holidays. Yeah, it's like a king's residence, huh? Comtesse. Yeah, it's like a king's residence. Yeah, so. Oh, let's get it on. And later on, she wanted to adapt all the many French designs in the White House. Yeah, because she's French origin, and therefore she loves French, and she does not belong to Washington. Actually, she does belong to Paris. Huh? She later on says that it was the best year of her life. Yeah, sure. When you're 20 years old and you have access to all the things. Yeah, that's just a big holiday, huh? And there are nice places in France too. And these are the gardens where Jacqueline Kennedy often spent weekends. Yeah. But I don't want to just to steal your time. Yeah, this is just your thing in Paris. And now we are going full force, even in the first session introduction into Jackie Kennedy. These are the three musketeers, so to speak. This is coming from John Onesti blogspot, one of the few researchers I really like. And of course, these three people have to know what happened on the day of the assassination. This is Clint Hill, the bodyguard to Mrs. Kennedy. This is the radio spotter, and on the passenger seat, Roy Kellerman, special agent in charge. So he's the head of all them, so to speak. And this is the driver, Will Greer, who's, of course, a Superman. Last session, we have talked about him driving, braking, looking back, and shooting all at the same time. Huh? Sure. Okay, so that is the picture of them. And this is now the article of John Onesti about, or short article about Jacqueline Kennedy. And now please hold fast, steady. Jackie was a CIA employee. She even wrote a letter confirming this to be true. In Didi Plaza, she sprawled her entire body out onto the back of the car, making herself a better target for snipers. Or did she have another purpose for her strange behavior? You see that if you look upon this, these pictures here about the Zapruder frames, yeah, you see clearly that she is a great target for anybody, especially in that color. Yeah, everybody's ducking down except Mrs. Kennedy here, huh? Of course, she's in a state of shock. Yeah, we will go to this. Researcher John Onesti believes that Clint Hill knows the real reason for Jackie's bizarre actions. Yes, I think that he's spot on that. Adding to the intrigue, a couple of days later, Jackie convinced others to walk with her behind JFK's caisson at his funeral. Shouldn't she have been concerned about his safety? Not if she knew how he was assassinated. And now he's spot on. And this is also the conclusion what I would agree upon, but we will go into this explicitly. John Onesti says, the answer to the above questions makes no sense unless one realizes that the secrets to the the answers to the above questions make no sense unless one realizes that the secrets to the JFK assassinations are inside the presidential limousine. Therein lies checkmate. Outside the limousine is chaos and a never-ending stalemate consisting of faceless shooters on the knoll and the patsy Lee Harvey Oswald running from the Texas School Book Depository. And I think that is 100% spot on. Outside the car is exactly where disinformation advocates want to keep you. And that goes not only for the Derek House building, the Texas School Book Depository, the grassy knoll, the Agent Hickey firing from the Queen Mary, but that is so spot on. It would be too complicated and injure so many other drivers and passengers in the presidential car that you have to do it from the inside of the limousine. Yeah. And once again, since 1944, it is absolutely clear that John F. Kennedy had to become president when it comes down to him being the son of a sovereign military knight of Malta, Joe Kennedy, and himself being a knight of Columbus. Yeah, so he was ordained to conquer America as a knight of Columbus, Brett.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So if Jackie Kennedy killed her own husband, I cannot tell, but I can tell that she's got some profound knowledge, and we will prove that. And we will then have a thing on our own coming that I think will be very prolific here. So this is BS here. I don't go for this. In a letter to Vogue magazine dated May the 7th, which I cannot find because it is on forbidden access, Jackie mentioned her so-called special job on a certain project for the CIA in late 1951. The key pages of the letter are available, not anymore. Several authors state that she was directly recruited into the CIA by family friend Alan Dulles in early 1951. Next alarm bell. The biography, Dreaming in French, has the most detailed account of this. See pages 48 to 54 here. Dreaming in French, the Paris years of Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy, or Jacqueline, Susan Sontag, and Angela Davis by Alice Kaplan. Yeah, she can also be an agent, but you see that we have to go into this. In that book on page 48, it states, I have highlighted it and I have enlarged it here. Eager for a job after graduation, she asked her stepfather's friend, Mr. Alkinchos, Alan Dulles, to shepherd her application for an entry-level position at the CIA. Her request might have been nothing more than a conversation at a cocktail party in McLean near her stepfather's Virginia estate, but whatever ensued was enough to make her think that she might not be available for other work. She would have been in good company, for the agency was recruiting on college campuses, especially the Ivy League and the Seven Sisters. Aha! So the CIA was recruiting, and Mrs. Kennedy said, well, my stepfather is good friends with Alan Dulles. Yeah, where do you read that? Where do you hear that? On a usual JFK documentary. This is key to understand. Once in the CIA, always in the CIA. I don't think that it was limited to a certain amount of time or even 3 months. Yeah, you see that she was befriended, or her stepfather was befriended, and she saw her stepfather as a maternal figure, as a replacement daddy. And her replacement daddy is best friends with Alan Dulles. Alan Dulles being sovereign knight of Malta and the leader of the CIA, which has then been forced out of the office by JFK. Well, her stepfather, which she saw as a father figure, Hugh D. Auchincloss, was married 3 times, first to a Russian woman, then to Gore Vidal's mother Nina, and lastly to Jackie's mother. He had children from all 3 marriages. His oldest son, known as Yusha, is pictured below, sitting next to Jackie. Hugh was a Yale graduate. Oh, once again, a close friend of former CIA Director Alan Dulles. There you got your conclusion. And a heir to the Standard Oil fortune. I said, no, not again. It's also Rockefeller. And his son, Yusha, also worked for the CIA. In the book Dreaming in French, explains that Hugh talked to Alan Dulles about getting Jackie a position. So, she's a CIA agent. Oh, you can be certain things on certain times, but if you are a CIA agent, you're a CIA agent. Does not matter what kind of position you are. And that leads us to the extreme task on Alan Dulles, the head of the CIA during the Cold War. He oversaw the Iranian coup d'etat, the 1954 Guatemalan coup d'etat, when Mr. E. Howard Hunt says, yeah, we always said in an admiring way that the Jesuits have the greatest secret service in the world. That was 1954. And do you think that it was not in 1963? Yeah, and he was also connected to the project MK-Ultra mind control program and the Bay of Pigs invasion. He was fired by John F. Kennedy over the latter fiasco. So think of that from the perspective from Jackie Kennedy, Brett.
Wow. There's a lot to take in here, Michael. Just a ton of information I've never, ever considered before. But yeah, it's a very tightly knit can of worms.
Yeah, so think of what happened here. Jackie Kennedy being the wife of John F. Kennedy, being the first lady, and her husband fired one of the best intimate friends of her own stepfather, whom she saw as a father figure.
Oh boy.
And being at the same time being her boss when it comes down to the CIA.
Yep.
Yeah. So imagine what kind of trouble that caused.
Well, I never knew that Jackie worked for the CIA. Never knew that, Michael.
Yeah, you see that it's so absolutely likely when you know that her stepfather was befriended to Alan Dulles, then you see that she most likely would have met Alan Dulles privately in the home of her stepfather. Yeah, they all knew each other.
That's right.
Yeah. So then you can now conclude that JFK, I don't know what he knew about the past of his wife, but yeah, he was accompanied by a CIA agent called Jackie Kennedy. And I think that is mixing the cards in quite another way than what you really thought that, oh yeah, the driver shot Kennedy. It's also very interesting because I know a bunch of researchers out there, some people who are really doing great jobs but are not close to the Bible. One of them being a certain Eric John Phelps, and he's absolutely missing out the fact of Jackie Kennedy in his books, as far as I know. Huh? So very careful about these guys, especially him. Very careful. So Dulles was also one of the members of the Warren Commission to investigate the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Yeah, that's a comedy section here, huh? That's comedy section here. Warren, 33-degree Freemason. Gerald Ford, 32-degree Freemason at that time, 33 later on, or 33 at the time, I cannot remember, but he was high-ranking Freemason as well. And Mr. Alan Dulles, at least Civil Military Knight of Malta. And they are all been investigating the assassination where they all have taken a part in. Yeah, at least Alan Dulles. Yeah, you see, these are not average representative of the state. How can, that's a question to you, Brad, how can a Knight of Columbus fire a Knight of Malta?
Yeah, how? It's a very good question.
That's a betrayal of a brother like Cain and Abel.
Yeah, that's right.
In the view of Alan Dulles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
And the Jesuits, or the Catholic Church in general, are overviewing the CIA. That's what the statement of E. Howard Hunt is granted for. He said that the Jesuits always had the greatest intelligence service in the world. He said that during the Guatemala coup d'etat, that was in the middle of the 1950s. And now we're talking about at least 8 years later. And there are books out there that are talking about the rise of America's secret government. Secret government, or what do we... deep state?
Not that secret. It's pretty public.
Deep state? Yeah, what's the deep state?
It's another BS term.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that now all the trouble occurs here, and the trouble gets worse. The longer I read, the trouble gets worse. His older brother of Alan Dulles was the Secretary of State during the Eisenhower administration, and the namesake of Dulles International Airport. And he's got a relative called Avery Robert Cardinal Dulles, S.J. Yeah, so even in his family, there are Jesuitical relationships, so to speak. Yeah, so to speak. Yeah, so Alan Dulles, who was the leader
so
of
to speak, it's very much. Listen, when you're on the inside, you're on the inside. Let's face it. Your whole family is.
Yeah, and this cardinal here, Cardinal Dulles, later on, he was being a priest in 1956. He was handing over the sacrament at the Fordham University through nobody else but Francis Cardinal Spellman, the Archbishop of New York. What do you expect, huh? What do you expect? I even got a video of that, but you see that it won't take us that far. Yeah. So you got all the people together here. You got Alan Dulles, you got Avery Dulles, and you got Francis Cardinal Spellman. All the high-ranking civil and military knights, Jesuits, and even the Archbishop of New York. And these are the people who are also behind the assassination, as far as I'm concerned. Because if you assassinate Knight of Columbus named John F. Kennedy, you have to have the approval of the hierarchy. What is the hierarchy of the SMOM? Must be at least the highest member of the SMOM. And are you surprised when it comes down to Francis Cardinal Spellman that he was SMOM too?
Oh yeah.
Would not surprise anything, yes. And even he was being granted a doctor of the theology, like what's the name now? Summa Theologica. The name escapes me at the moment, but you know what I mean. Who I mean? Yeah? And he was being sent to Rome then, when he was being promoted as a doctor of the theology. Yeah. And later on, that's him together with...
would you mean Thomas Aquinas?
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And then you see that he was meeting also another pope, so several popes. So can you imagine what high position he was?
I had to think for a minute, Michael, because I knew somewhere in my memory banks.
So many names, so many things. Yeah,
there is a lot to know. Yes, there.
Yeah, but you see that how high-ranking that guy is. He's a cardinal. Yeah, he's a cardinal Dulles. That's right. I don't know if JFK knew what he was up to or against, especially when after the Bay of Pigs, at least in the New York Times, he said that famous quote called, "I will splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds." Yeah, which is a quote of a novel from I think it was the 19th century, but nevertheless, you see that he wanted to re-establish, or what else, a sovereign military Knight of Malta organization. You see that he was being seen as a threat for many people, high-ranking people, clergy people, knights. Yeah, so he was not best friends with Allen Dulles. Dulles hated them. Yeah, so he dismissed Mr. Allen Dulles at the 28th of November 1961. Okay. And the next day, yeah, White House released a resignation letter signed by Dulles, so he was forced to go. And then he was replaced by John McClone, Brett. And would you like to estimate what kind of belief or order system Mr. John McClane belonged to?
Don't know. Haven't looked into it.
Yeah, you see that Knight as a head of the CIA.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. You have to be a member of the most prestigious organization in Europe, don't you, Michael?
Yeah, it was, of course, he was a sovereign military Knight of Malta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you exchange one evil with the next evil.
That's right.
Yeah. It's so hilarious. You see that he was really a bit naive, Mr. Kennedy, I think. No? And Allen Dulles, there is a quote of an interview he gave to a writer called Willie Morris, and he said, quote, "That little Kennedy, he thought he was a god." Yeah, well, the Pope also thinks that he is a god. Yeah, you see that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. You see that when you really read between lines and really compare all the things, that you can't prove that Jackie Kennedy was a CIA agent during the assassination, but come on. You see, you now got the connection to her stepfather, to Allen Dulles, to Avery Dulles, to all the SJs, to all the SMOMs. Yeah, you see, how hard is it? Yeah, she was a little bit unlucky. Some people think about that she's got that square face and her eyes so unfortunately far apart that it takes 3 weeks to have a pair of glasses made with a bridge wide enough to fit over my nose. But I don't know if that is absolutely a spot on quote. When I don't care. I don't find that women very attractive. I find her very interesting. Yeah, I find her very interesting, but not particularly attractive. I think that was also the same opinion by John F. Kennedy. Otherwise, he would not have cheated on her, would he? Yeah. So the question is it possible that she did work for the CIA on a 3-month special project? Question mark. When queried under the Freedom of Information Act about the recording of her employment, the CIA responded that there was none. Yeah, of course, that's manners. Yeah, of course, manners of public safety, of national security, or what else?
Yeah.
Someone looking for a smoking gun might persist with the fantasy that was recreated for a covert operation on account of her international social connections. After all, the OSS was nicknamed also social, but it would take some serious fabulation to argue that Jacqueline Bouvier's specialist skills in 1951 corresponds to what the intelligence agency needed, or even that the CIA would have invested in a costly security clearance for such a short assignment. Yeah, you see that you have to take another perspective. Why should the CIA spend any money on Jacqueline Kennedy? That must have been a certain purpose, and I think that it has quite another purpose, especially when it fits down to the 1950-1951 thing. So let's have a closer look. On a website here called RFK and Dulles, a closer look, it says, during the special job period, late 1951, a CIA Operation Mockingbird journalist agent Charles Bartlett determinedly introduced Jackie to JFK and the Kennedy family. Jackie then seduced, married, and spied on JFK, that's an allegation, of course, who the CIA knew was likely a future president. Yeah, sure, everybody knew since 1944. And a threat to their corrupt activities. Well, okay, when it comes down to corrupt activities, as the father of Mr. John F. Kennedy, he did all the things from gambling, movie, mafia, money laundering, alcohol smuggling. Yeah. Yeah. From the source here, CIA and journalism in 1951, remember that special year, Jackie Kennedy, Alan Dulles persuaded Meyer to join the CIA. However, there's evidence that he was recruited several years earlier and had been spying on the liberal organizations he had been a member of in the later 1940s. According to Deborah Davis, Meyer became Mockingbird's principal operative. So we're speaking about the beginning of 1951. That's spot on with the French investment on JFK. Yeah, and in 1977, the music magazine Rolling Stone, or not only music magazine, they have promoted that there was a CIA Operation Mockingbird to have important journalists under the cover of the CIA, including also our Charles Bartlett for the Chattanooga Times. After and these journalists wrote articles that were commissioned, and the CIA provided them with classified information to help them with their work. And after 1953, the network was overseen by nobody else but the one that Jackie Kennedy applied for getting a job at the CIA, Alan V. Dulles. The director of the CIA, by this time, Operation Mockingbird has been a major influence over 25 newspapers and wire agencies. Yeah, and there you got your connections. What might have been the purpose of Jackie Kennedy under, maybe she was one of the informants of the so-called Operation Mockingbird, where all these journalists was being fed by CIA and sponsored by the CIA and been getting in touch with famous people to maybe spy on. Yeah, that's very interesting, I thought, that you got the connection here. Yeah. You see that you got all the usual suspects here. All the usual suspects. Yeah, so please keep your distance. Just a little bit of, yeah, Guatemala, Alan Dulles. It's always the same. Project Mockingbird. Yeah, so what you got here is not only the first lady or the girlfriend or the wife of President Kennedy, but she is in close touch with Alan Dulles, and she is at least a CIA operative, CIA employee. Yeah. So Operation Mockingbird.
This was reminding me of the same technique that you hear about in films about communist Russia. Same thing.
Yeah. Recruiting American journalists into propaganda network and influence the operation of front groups. Yeah, you see, that's the purpose here. If you got a lovely with capable of speaking at least 5 different languages, a young lady at the age of 20, that's spot on. If you would like to influence somebody into, hey, come and join us to the CIA, you got good money and you got good connections, and we provide you with many information, and that might be very good for your career. And when then the head of the CIA is Alan Dulles and is one of your best friends, buddies with your stepfather, then you would really be very naive to believe that Jacqueline Kennedy has absolutely nothing to do with the CIA. My. So I'm absolutely convinced that there is a connection. I can't prove it because you see that all the files are restricted, but that's the case with many Kennedy things. But I would not ever underestimate that lady, if she were any. Yeah, many describe her as psychopath. Yeah, you see, that's also the same as Oswald was another CIA agent. Yeah, so you had got one CIA agent and you got the Patsy Oswald as another CIA agent. Yeah, part of the CIA's fake de facto program handled by CIA agent George de Morenchill Dallas, who later was being suicided, so to speak, most likely. And the Oswald family landlady, Ruth Payne, was a friend of Allen Dulles. You see that it's such a small country, the United States, Brett. You can't imagine. Everybody knows anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Dulles hated both Kennedy's brothers because they blamed him for the Bay of Pigs fiasco, and they fired him, or John F. Kennedy fired him in 1961. November 1961, and I came to a very strange conclusion when I did the script, and I said, that's a very interesting date. Yeah, so it was, if I remember correctly, the 27th of November 1961. Yeah, so there are many people who are thinking that the Swiss historian Daniele Ganser also thinks that Allen Dulles was the head behind the assassination. Yeah, Dulles was a regime change specialist. What does that tell you? Regime change, Brett.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Regimini militantis ecclesia, that means regime change. Yeah, now we change the regime to the regime of the military church, or the military regime of the church.
The ecclesiastical.
Yeah.
What do you call them?
Board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Allen Dulles can be seen as a high-ranking spy who is not only assassinating leaders and overthrowing governments, not necessarily overseas only. And according to his own sister, he was like a psychopath. Of course, they are all. And 1961, he said of 1965, he said that little Kennedy thought he was a god. Yeah. And many people say that, oh, there were high-ranking people. General Edward Lansdale was photographed. Yeah, army, huh? General.
Oh,
army.
I got just a quick sentence or two to quote out of the book that I have called The Seventh File that I'm reading. I'm going to be getting back to this book very shortly. Be patient with me on my channel. But anyway, it's page 128, the title of the chapter in the first couple sentences. It says, chapter 16, The Two-Horned Beast of the Earth. And it starts out with a quote from the Bible. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Quote, unquote, I'm sorry. We intended here simply to indicate in a few brief sentences who this lamb-like beast is, and then pass on to the grand catastrophe. It is, ta-ta-ta, the ecclesiastical hierarchy, which we take to be here symbolized. Bam. The vision of the Pope again before us. In the beast of the sea, he is seen as the ruling head of the 10 papal kingdoms. Here he is beheld as the ruling head of the papal clergy. This beast rose out of the earth, the symbol of the Western Empire in its tranquilized state. He had two horns like a lamb. The key of the symbol is found in our Lord's warning, quote, beware of them that come to you in sheep's clothing, unquote. Such was the clothing in which the beast of the earth appeared, a circumstance which fixes upon him a clerical character. Excuse me. Yes. I think we could go on and on and on, and I think there's no reason for that. But that just came to my mind when you come across ecclesiastical. It's the hierarchy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's not that hard. It's just very time consuming to go into this assassination. But then you see that once and for all, they succeeded in doing so almost 60 years ago. So what would you think about the current situation out there? You see that these are all the people are covering things up. J. Edgar Hoover, of course, that was his job to cover all the proofs. Yeah. Yeah, you see, all the people are, they just want to move on. When the powers to be or the hierarchy says it's time to get rid of Kennedy, everybody will, there won't be anybody standing in their way. Yeah, they control everything. They control the Secret Service, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA. They have all the secrets. And they don't have to tell the secrets even in front of the commission or even in court. Yeah. You see that it's endless. Yeah. Yeah, sure, it's Masonic, it's Lucifer, but the Masons are just on the lower end. Yeah. Yeah, of course, Bill Cooper also said that there was the sacrifice king, and he's spot on. But I don't remember if he called the Jesuits or anybody in particular. He was being described as the most dangerous radio host in America, and you see that picture here, half a year before the death of Kennedy with young Bill Clinton. Coincidence? I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, so there's so many distractions here with firecrackers and everything going on, and I'm personally convinced that it is highly likely that there were more than 2 or 3 shots audible, visible, so for the public. And also, no one ducks in the car until immediately before the final fatal shot, despite numerous previous shots which were to distract from Jackie. That's also my conclusion. Yeah. You see, they can control everything. They can control the autopsy. They can control everything. Yeah. Yeah, it's even different shirts, if I have researched that correctly. Different shirts. You see that maybe the corpses will also change for the different head wounds. Yeah, this is Tippett, this is Kennedy. He's a kind of a lookalike. You can't imagine. Yeah. Also, this researcher has, in my opinion, has got it right that the assassination was a fake of Oswald. Yeah, and there was even somebody who blasted out a car horn. And Jackie went on to have an affair with Robert F. Kennedy. I cannot prove that, until he was also assassinated by the CIA or the powers to be read. Shortly after vowing to investigate the murders of his brother, yes, I also have investigated that. That it is highly likely that he said that in a circle of close so-called friends. And on the night of the assassination, being, I think it was in July 1968, in the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, Jackie Kennedy flew into Los Angeles and persuaded the family to switch off Robert Kennedy's life support machine. So it was not, I got at least 2 sources for that. If I remember correctly, it was not the wife, Ethel Kennedy, or the wife of Robert Kennedy, who decided then to switch off the life support, but it was Jackie Kennedy. So much so for the caring mother and wife and all the things. Yeah. As an American president, most likely Mr. Robert Kennedy would have been elected as the new president, most likely. And then he would have the power to uncover the assassination of his brother. And that's what got him killed. And maybe that is also the reason for John F. Kennedy Jr., who had, of course, a plane accident. But maybe he's got only not a plane accident, P-L-A-N-I, but a plane accident, P-L-A-I-N, huh? I don't know. So let's get back to the facts. Where are the facts? That I cannot prove. Yeah, that is the journalist who wrote that novel, or all the pictures here from Jacqueline in Paris, and she soon in September will publish a book called Jacqueline in Paris, a novel. And I'm very curious what the content will be, because sometimes people hide truth in a novel because it would be too important or too dangerous to publish them as a kind of history book. Because then you face trials and everything else. Yeah, so that I'm looking forward to that book, to the release of that book here, Jacqueline in Paris, in 2 months from now. Yeah, Mrs. Bouvier, former or later Kennedy interviewed also the daughter of Richard Nixon and all these high-ranking guys. Yeah, and you see that this must be all a coincidence. Why? Because she was having an engagement before Kennedy of a certain John Husted Jr. And then, out of a sudden, she quit the connection. And according to some researchers, the real reason is that she learned that that guy made just $70,000 a year. Yeah, and so therefore he was sucked. And himself, he said about Jackie, she simply slipped the engagement ring. He'd given off her finger and dropped it into his jacket pocket. She was ice cold, John would remember. Like we never knew each other. That's also my problem with Jackie Kennedy. Yeah, she was ice cold. Yeah, you see that concerning the story of that shooting, which occurred in 313. Yeah, let's move on to 314. And then now please really have a look at the images. We know that the Zapruder film is fake. Yeah, so, but if that Zapruder film would be authentic, then 18 frames are 1 second, Brett. So this is the second when John F. Kennedy, or 1/18th of a second, when John F. Kennedy was fatally shot, according to that faked Zapruder movie. So we only have to count 18 steps now, or 17 at least, because this is the first, 17 steps to 331 to cover the first second. So please look what the wife of Kennedy did in the first second after her husband was fatally shot, spurring blood all over the place. Are you ready?
Of course.
Okay, so yeah, we have to count to 17. Look at the screen. Look what she's doing in 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That's the first second. And then the second, that is until 349. Or the next 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It is not 2 seconds after the fatal shot that she is on the trunk. There is no second of shock, Brett.
There's no 10 seconds of shock.
There is nothing. That's... Oh, test done. Sorry, John, got a date with Clint.
Yeah, that's about it too.
That's about it. Yeah, that's just about it. Oh yeah, he's gone, and yeah, next please. That is no original or natural reaction of a wife. You see that she was married to him for 10 years, had several children with him. That's no normal reaction. So that is also for me more visual proof that she was connected to CIA programs. And you see that Operation Mockingbird just being the lower levels, just to get journalists into position that they spread propaganda and to interview interesting people in regards of the CIA. Yeah, but you see that this is just a mere 2 seconds after the fatal shot, and she's with her elbow already on the trunk. And as the car is speeding now, you see the imminent danger of the alleged shooter called William Greer, the driver, according to Bill Cooper and other researchers, is now not more imminent because Mr. Greer is Superman, but he's not almighty. He cannot drive forward, slam on the gas, turn his head and shoot to the back at the same time. And it would be more logical that she would duck and cover behind Nellie Connelly. And if she wanted to leave the car, then it would be more easy to access the car or to leave the car on the side than into the large trunk with all the antennas. It's unbelievable. You see that what people really make up. Yeah, you see that we are on page 96, and we started with the picture here where I ask about your opinion about the mood of all the peoples. You see that is the window is ending here, so you see she had only to climb up here and she would be out of the car, but instead she said that no, I'm going on the trunk. Yeah, that is it serves another purpose, and I'm quite convinced, and I will let you know in a future session why she was behaving that way. So get back here, you see, get back. So he was introduced by somebody who was already occupied by Operation Mockingbird. So you got 3 factors. You got the CIA connection in Paris. You got her father's connection with Alan Dulles, and you got a journalist who was part of the Operation Mockingbird. So you got 3 hints that she has to do with the CIA and the Operation Mockingbird already. Yeah. And it's interesting. You go into the articles and they say that she was attracted to Kennedy's physical appearance, wit, and wealth. Yeah, sure, because she sacked her former boyfriend, yeah, because he made not enough money. You see that she was a luxury wife, so to speak. She was used to reside and to live in castles. And there's also more to it. You see that Kennedy was busy running for the Senate in Massachusetts. Their relationship grew more serious, and he proposed to her after the November election. Bouvier took some time to accept because she had been assigned to cover the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in London. Yeah, do you think that they sent an ordinary young girl for the coronation of the Queen, who happened to be the leader of the Commonwealth of Nations, Order of the Garter, one of the high-ranking papal servants, Queen Elizabeth? Bing, 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 bing. Yeah, so, yeah, that's another hint. Oh, sorry, John. You're just the Knight of Columbus, but I have to go to England to the coronation of the Queen Elizabeth because she's the head of the Order of the Garter, so she's more high-ranking than you are. It's hierarchy, once again. But it gets even worse, or even more, obvious here. Yeah, this is Jacqueline Kennedy. Yeah, once again, she was quite intelligent, and she was studying, and she was capable of speaking several languages. Yeah, and they married then on Rhode Island. I said, yeah, sure, Rhode, and St. Mary's Church, and yeah, so much so. In 1954, John underwent a near-fatal spinal operation, and she suffered a miscarriage for the first child in 1955. In 1956, he gave birth to a stillborn daughter, Arabella. Yeah, so nothing happened quite as planned in the younger days, huh? And when we go further, it gets even worse. They bought a townhouse in Northern Street, there where the sun does not shine, in Georgetown, Jesuit district or Jesuit university. And then Kennedy finally gave birth to a daughter, Caroline, on November 27, 1957. At the time, she and her husband were campaigning for his re-election to the Senate, and they posed with their infant daughter on the cover of the Life magazine in 1958. Yeah, sure. You know who is the owner or the publisher of the Life magazine, Brett?
Oh, we went through that just shortly ago.
Yeah, Henry R. Luce, and well, guess what?
Yes.
Whom he's belonging to?
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine he'd be a member of the Sovereign Military Order of Malta.
Yes, and even his wife is Dame of
Dame of Malta. Yeah.
Dame of Malta. Yeah. Thank you. It's unbelievable. Why don't nobody look at that connection?
Because most people wouldn't dare think that there would be such a connection.
I don't know. I find that so obvious. Yeah. You see, it's more obvious when you see they got a win-win situation. You see that she wanted to be introduced in the high society. Yeah, he was good looking, he was very wealthy, and he was going into the Senate. Yeah, so she was coming from a political family or political background, especially, and they got a win-win situation. He needed a wife desperately to gain political momentum. Yeah, especially for Catholic voters. Yeah, so that she was, I don't know if that was a marriage out of love or a win-win situation, that she said that, oh yeah, we got a mutual interest. We want to achieve both a high position in social circles. Yeah, and that's what both of them got. On the outside, it was Camelot. Yeah, only on the outside. So, in the early months of the election year, 1960, Jacqueline Kennedy accompanied her husband to campaign events such as whistle stops and dinners. Shortly after the campaign began, she became pregnant. Oh, that is very suitable. Due to her previous high-risk pregnancies, she decided to stay home in Georgetown. Yeah. And then she was one of the 12 best-dressed women in the world. Yeah, that's very important. And now you look at this. On July the 13th, at the 1960 Democratic National Convention in Los Angeles, the party nominated John F. Kennedy for president. Kennedy did not attend the nomination due to her pregnancy, so Miss Kennedy, which had been publicly announced 10 days earlier, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
If that is not a good propaganda.
Right.
Mm-hmm. If that is not good propaganda, I don't know what is. Mm-hmm. On November the 8th, 1960, John F. Kennedy narrowly defeated Republican opponent Richard Nixon, who was in Dallas the night before, in the US presidential election. A little over 2 weeks later, on November the 25th, Jacqueline Kennedy gave birth to the couple's first son, John F. Kennedy Jr. And you won't have to tell me when he was born, because I know that from memory, because of that picture that happened. The funeral of John F. Kennedy, of his father, happened exactly on his 3rd birthday. John F. Kennedy Jr., who later went missing in a plane accident. Huh? Everybody who wants to investigate about his the John F. Kennedy's assassination, was then gone. It was Robert Kennedy, and she was the one, allegedly, who said to take off the life machine, so that he would die. And later on, John F. Kennedy Jr. said, I would like to investigate. And he had, if I remember correctly, he had also published a magazine called George, where, of course, he was kind of accusing George Herbert Walker Bush to at least been partaking in that assassination. And then soon later, he was together with his fiancée or something like that. He was then,
taken care of,
in a plane accident. You see that when John Kennedy was sworn in 1961, finally, he was been sworn in with Chief Earl Warren, who later was being president or the leader of the Warren Commission to investigate the death. And here you don't see average people. You see here Freemason and Sovereign Military Knight of Malta, Lyndon B. Johnson. You see, if that is correctly here now, Richard Nixon. Yeah, and you see here son of Columbus. You see son of the Sovereign Military Knight of Malta, Joe Kennedy, the Knight of Columbus, John F. Kennedy, with the 33-degree Freemason. This is a theater here. These are not representative of your state. How can a 33-degree Freemason who is serving Satan or Lucifer, really guide a Warren Commission and into believing the people?
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Michael. That's the thing about the United States. How many of us actually think about the Masonic Temple in Washington, D.C.? Just go take a look at that thing. They call it the temple. The thing is fancy. They spent a huge amount of money to put that thing up there. And why? Do you think they actually open their Bibles and worship God there?
My point is that you see that you got a Freemason ritual in a Freemason temple in Dealey Plaza, and you got a Freemason 33-degree, who overrun.
It's a Freemasonic, this country is way more Masonic than we give it credit for, Michael. That's the problem. You have a secret society deeply embedded into the Constitution itself.
Yeah, you see, it's just an exoteric. The media portrayed Jacqueline Kennedy as the ideal woman. It is absolutely so far from the truth.
Right.
It's so far from the truth.
Yeah, they just frame it that way because it suits them best.
Yeah.
That's all.
Christmas bread.
Oh, yeah. Roman Catholics.
Roman Catholics, yes. Catholics in action, huh?
I think they need a bigger tree than that. That's small. Look how small that is.
Oh, yeah. Comedian, huh? You see, this is, Yeah, there we stop here. Yeah, you see, this is just not the original. These are not average guy. Here's a CIA agent. Here's the Knight of Columbus. Here's a Knight of Malta. Somebody who has been playing tricks with the Jesuits, Freemason, etc. And then looking up to a miracle machine called the television. This is a satanic family altar. Yeah, it's just all distraction. So that's it for this session, and next session we will go to the Pink Panther, the second part of that, and you will see some familiar names and with familiar movies maybe, and familiar actors, familiar agents, yeah, familiar countries, familiar flowers, familiar elephants in the room. Like this. And I really like that picture because it depicts a pink elephant in the room. Yeah, so we will discuss that from the perspective, and we will go even deeper into the research of Kennedy and the assassination and what kind of role Miss Kennedy played in there. And you won't believe what I'm going to do then in the next session. And I think that we will need at least 3 sessions on that. That was just the beginning, that you see that all is staged, all the world is staged. Yeah, what you see here is a play, and the only one who is not aware of the play is Mr. John F. Kennedy. Yeah, that's why he was smiling on the picture, and everybody else was, my humble opinion, everybody else was very highly concentrated on playing his part correctly. You see that I will go. I really like that this picture here, 8 seconds before the fatal hit. I really like that picture because this is just the beginning of the play. On the Elm Street. It was just a few seconds, but it went perfect for the people who had the plan from the beginning, because it was a very unfair play. Brett, it was 5 against 1.
Sure.
Yeah. And in reality, it was even more than that.
Sure.
And I think that this picture is so telling. Yeah, we have to really get down to the basics to look at the things we have. I think we have forgotten to use the things and the thinking and all the possibilities that we have been granted by the Holy Father, also by our Father in heaven, I meant. Yeah, that you really see that there is something fishy going on. And you don't underestimate people. People can get very evil. You see that we are not talking about average people here. We are not talking about milkmaids. We are not talking about writers, policemen, or construction workers. We are talking about a Secret Service agent. We are talking about another Secret Service agent. We are talking about the wife of a governor. So we are talking about a governor, we are talking about the First Lady and the President. So all of them have a security clearance here. These are all people with secrets. Yeah, these are people who have sacrificed their usual life to be to achieve a high-ranking position in a social status or social community. They don't have the time to raise children every day. Yeah, they are just busy traveling, and they're putting their face into the camera. Yeah, so this is not what I think what God had ordained when he created the world with the men and women, that they take care of the children and have a lovely home and they praise God. And these are just all egoists. These people are just serving themselves. And if there is a benefit which is higher than their usual status, they will just change the horse. And that's the situation with Kennedy, and that's the situation for everybody here. Yeah, think about the situation for Lyndon B. Johnson. Yeah, 2 hours later, he was becoming president without the election, without winning an election. He was becoming president of the United States, so he had to gain everything. Many people had to gain. The oil industry had to gain. The military complex had to gain. Many politicians had to gain. So the only one who was losing anything was Mr. Kennedy, and especially his sons and daughters. That the mother of his child was part of a plot to kill her own husband, then I'm sorry, then you really underestimate the cleverness, full of the devil, of Mrs. Kennedy. And I'm not blaming anybody, but that's how the world is running. If you don't think of anybody who can be so cruel, then maybe you think of Madeleine Albright, who said that, yes, 500,000 starving children in Iraq, that was the price worth it. Or Margaret Thatcher or anybody else. Yeah, these are not loving, caring people. These are just people striving for power. And how do you get power in a satanic world? Yeah, you have to worship Satan. So everybody who is in a high political office is serving Satan. At least he's serving the mammon, which is absolutely the same. You can't serve two masters, God or the mammon. And therefore, I like to hand it over to my beloved brother Brett. Thank you very much for that session. I hope it gained some insight, and I hope you will have some curiosity for the next upcoming sessions. Thank you very much for bearing with me, and Maranatha.
Thank you, Michael, for bringing this research to us today, and many things that we're learning here, including myself. Never thought of things in this regard before, but it really makes a lot more sense now. And yeah, I've never really had a high regard for people that work for the CIA. So yeah, that confirms some of my suspicions about Jacqueline Kennedy as well. But you know, this is something that has been, what can we say?
Brett,
continuation?
Before, sorry to interrupt, but I have forgotten something.
Go ahead.
Before anybody makes the point, which seems to be obvious in the first place, and said, okay, Michael is just accusing somebody without having any proof, then we switch to one thing which is absolutely necessary for the understanding or key to understanding. Let's use an enhancement of frame 312. So we know that the movie is faked, but, and it's a big but, in any case, you see that during seconds or part of the seconds, we know that this movie is fake, but you see how close Mrs. Kennedy is to her husband, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you can't tell me, that is very obvious, you can't tell me that she does not know from which direction the shot came which hit her husband. If you are so close range to the target as she was to her husband, she has to know if a shot would have occurred from the back and pushed his or her husband forwards, or if a shot would have come from the side and would have pushed the head and the body towards her, or if a shot would have come from the driver or from the front and would have pushed the body and the head of her husband backwards. And that nobody asked her. And she had to know where the shot came if she was not being a part of the assassination, but she had to know where the shot came. You can't tell me, you can't convince me that she did not know where the shot came, even if she would not be a part of the conspiracy. And that's a prolific point. She did not tell anybody anything. But this woman knows way more than she's telling you. And yeah, also she had to gain very much. And that's what we will go into the next sessions. That's what I would like to point out. You see that you don't have to ask any researcher. You only have to use common sense. Okay, thanks very much. And handing it over, sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. You know, that's interesting you bring that up, because most good researchers want absolute proof, and I'm sorry, Sometimes you got to go with your gut when you know something's wrong, and the only way that it makes sense is this way. And that's what appears to be the case with Jacqueline Kennedy. However, you know, when you say that the Zapruder movie is faked, that makes it sound like that there is no authenticity at all to any of these photos. So then we can throw the whole thing out. So just something to consider. This is not a very easy thing to do. You put yourself on the line when you make statements. But look, on the other side of Jacqueline Kennedy, her window is shut there. And Michael's shown us before that that window was open. So there's definitely some manipulation going on. A lot of manipulation going on, actually. So it's very hard to prove anything is true or false. So again, you just go with your gut. But I think what Michael has brought forth today for us makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense as far as I'm concerned, because, you know, what did Jacqueline Kennedy have to gain? Riches.
Mm-hmm.
And what do all these people in the hierarchy do? What do they serve? Mammon. They don't serve God. They take his place. They take his place, along with the Pope and everyone else. Is that fair? Ask yourself. And that's all I got to say. They serve mammon. End of story. Case is closed as far as I'm concerned, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, they'll get their reward. And their eternal reward is written in the Bible. We know what it is. It's called the lake of fire.
Isn't it called in the Ten Commandments that one shall not bear with false witness?
Yeah, absolutely. Bearing false witness.
If your husband would be shot, wouldn't you try to tell the truth that the murder could be found?
But that's a good question, Michael. Did she really love him? I think not. It was just her job. She's walking up the ladder, man.
Mm-hmm.
She's climbing that ladder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in that photo you pointed out earlier,
mm-hmm.
you could see it in her face. It's plain as day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking forward to the next seconds here. I've got a dirty job to do here. I mean, you really have to zoom in on her face to see it. Thanks, Michael. That is not the look of someone happy. She knew what she had to do. But that's just me talking.
It's just like she sacked her first fiance or what else? Yeah, that John guy. Yeah, he said
she was enough money. Yeah,
he said that she was cold as ice, as if we never knew each other. And that's the same approach, had the same behavior she did after the assassination of Kennedy. She said, okay, you're dead. Okay, you're hit. Okay, and say, I'm out of here. For whatever reasons, and there are certain reasons why she did behave so, because in my understanding, it was just a pure distraction to keep the distraction or keep the concentration not on the president, but on her. So everybody looked at her, what she's doing there. Oh yeah, she's climbing on the trunk and she's collecting some brains or some skull or what else. Yeah, sure. That's the usual approach you do, that if your partner or your husband has been hit and you see some parts flying, you don't accompany your partner, but you are more interested in the matter, huh? Oh my, really? Oh my, oh my, oh my. Yeah, once again, I don't see anything on the trunk, but it's just me and this bad resolution here. But you see that I don't want to play some kind of Sherlock Holmes here. I just want to show the people that they are being betrayed, and not only that, that it's all against the Bible. That if usually you care about your other and you forgive them 70 times 7, and it's just a very awkward behavior here. Everybody's behaving very awkward here. It's not only Jackie Kennedy. There's much more to it. But the problem that I got with it is another thing. The problem is that I'm really glad when these Kennedy sessions are over, because we have another project going on. But once and for all, from a biblical point, that she is not behaving as a loving, caring wife.
That's the primary accusation here. That's it. That is not the reaction a wife would have to her husband, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, 2 seconds and you're on the trunk.
Yeah. You have to really think about logically. Yeah, I cannot enhance it here if I'm putting here forward, face forward in the slides. But you see that this is 18 frames a second. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So after 1 second, he's not interesting anymore. She's not interested anymore. Yeah, she has already been in 1 second. She had realized, okay, that's it. He's gone, or he's dead. Case closed. And the next session, she says, okay, I have to think of myself. What do I have to do? And isn't that more likely an action of a CIA agent than a usual behavior of a shocked housewife or wife of somebody? This is the next second here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. She does need only 1 second to realize, okay, he's dead, and now I have to go into the trunk. There's no confusion. What am I doing? No. No, it's not happening. It's just she exactly knew what she's told to do, or she has to do. You realize somebody is dead. You need 1 second, and then on the next second you get on the trunk. Usual theory would fit. Then from that perspective, how would she know that there are pieces of his skull on the trunk? Yeah, she's not looking on the trunk. She's looking at him.
And
how does she know?
How on earth would anyone want to think that she's going to grab pieces of his skull like that even matters?
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous.
It's stupid.
Yeah, you see that this is frame 343. So allegedly, we know there are missing frames. Allegedly, this is 30 frames later. So it's not even 2 seconds. Yeah, she says, "Oh no." Yeah, and then she looks to the trunk, and you see on the trunk here 1, 2, 3 antennas. So tell me, the resolution is too low that we can see that there is anything. But what would help him? If you push him down, let him fall down with an open head or an open wound, that he can get an infection or can be hurt from the fall itself, and then you care more than a piece of his brain or of his hair or what else than for the entire man himself. You do not care about him. She only cares about matter or mammon. If you think that from a spiritual standpoint, yeah, she's only interested in matter. She's not interested in the man. It's disgusting if you think that if somebody's been shot right beside you in a car, yeah, that you say, okay, so then leave it, I'm out of here. Yeah, because there is already no danger imminent here. Because the car is speeding, that she's let's face it, guys. This is not a usual reaction. Even if there are some missing frames, this is not a usual reaction. That has nothing to do whatsoever with a loving housewife. This is everything to do with, okay, now it's over. He can't do anything for me. I have a date and appointment with Clint Hill with the Secret Service. This is all for distraction, yeah, to get the attention away from the president and to get the attention from Mrs. Kennedy, who's so well dressed here. You know, one of the best dressed women on the outside, yeah. So action here for Clint Hill is officially that he's the bodyguard of Jacqueline Kennedy. He's there for the protection of the First Lady. Yeah, and people say that, oh yeah, she wanted to leave the car. Sure, yeah, she wanted to leave the car on the trunk. The car is speeding and speeding and speeding and speeding, and she's got more problems to not fall off the car than anything else.
Michael.
Yeah.
Who was Pope during the assassination of John F. Kennedy? Wasn't that John the 23rd?
I have to look it up actually with all the names of all.
Or was it Paul the Sixth? Maybe Paul the Sixth, huh? I think it was Paul the Sixth actually.
Yeah, that's Paul the Sixth. Yes, that's
correct. 1963. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
So she was very familiar with the hierarchy, all right? Very intimate with the hierarchy.
Oh, and you don't have to ask him. You see that he's deceased, but he knows. He knows his knights. He knows his staff, his flock.
Yeah, and those of us that have studied this know that the CIA is nothing more than another vassal for the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, for instance, or the Jesuits, for instance. However you want to look at it.
And of course, as the Sovereign Military of Malta also has as the highest ranking position a Grand Master, you see that's not much to conclude that it has anything to do with Freemasonry. It's always the same, that you see that we spoke about Paul the Sixth in our Science and New Religions series when he was visiting the United States after that, visiting the United Nations with the famous Foucault pendulum.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That wasn't long after the assassination.
No, that wasn't long, and would not been even thinkable in the day when Kennedy was being president of the United States, because even bishops he had rejected in the White House. Yeah, the Catholic Church was totally peed off.
Oh yeah,
from the behavior of Kennedy.
So there's a lot more to it. It has to do with this hierarchy that's taken the place of God on earth. Really. That's really where it's at, you know, and I think that sadly, most of us people just can't really wrap our brains around how diabolical this really is until we've really read the Bible enough to know that there's something incredibly wrong.
Oh, people, please look at that.
11:22 a.m. Wow, yeah, there's an interesting number.
Oh yeah. Oh, I just forgot something. I'm sorry. I just thought I would. We know that Alan Dulles has been sacked, so to speak, yeah, on the 27th of November 1965. I just realized that. I think it was the day. Let me have a look. 8th November. Oh yeah, you see, on the 29th of November. Okay, I'm sorry, but it's just 29th of November. He had a resignation letter by Dallas. Okay. And now, please, I just stumbled upon that in the German session 2 days before. I stumbled upon the fact that the father of John F. Kennedy was Joe Kennedy, of course. Everybody knows that, yeah? Knows that, sorry. Yeah, and he was a Sovereign Military Knight of Malta. Yeah, and can you remember that he suffered a stroke? Yeah, so he could not speak and behave very well. And so this stroke, yeah, happened, I know that, yeah, on the 19th of December 1961. So that got me into thinking of two things. When he, the father of Kennedy himself, was a Knight of Malta, he was being informed that also the Knight of Malta, Alan Dulles, was being forced out of the office on the 29th of November 1961. He himself, they knew each other because they both were Sovereign Military Knight of Malta. Alan Dulles as well as the father of John F. Kennedy. And from the 29th of November until the 19th of December, the 19th of December, he had a stroke at just 3 weeks. And I can imagine that the father of John F. Kennedy was very displeased, at least, about the dismissal of Alan Dulles because he was a kind of a brother in the Sovereign Military Knight of Malta. So I can imagine that his stroke maybe has something to do, just maybe, something to do with big arguments within the Kennedy family. You see, the wife of Kennedy would be upset because it was one of the best friends of her stepfather and her informal boss of the CIA, and the father of John F. Kennedy as well, because he was also a Sovereign Knight of Malta. And now his own son is firing a Sovereign Military Knight of Malta out of office of the CIA, which I don't think is happened much often. And I can imagine that there were much fight and arguments going inside the Kennedy's home between John F. Kennedy and his father. And maybe that had at least some effect on that stroke. I don't think that it's so likely that it's so close. These 3 weeks, I can imagine that John F. Kennedy was really having a hard time within his family after the dismissal of Dulles. And in my humble opinion, that would also be at the most likely the start of the assassination plans going into fruition. Remember that the presidential car was being built and afterwards was being modified. We have spoken about that in the last session, and I won't forget that thing. So you see that they could, they could listen to all the things that Kennedy was saying. So that the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, he could have so many files on Kennedy that they absolutely knew. And of course, the papacy absolutely knew Kennedy was going to crush the CIA or to modify other things. And I think it's absolutely logical that I did not want to have Kennedy run for president for more years. But I just wanted to point out that the timeline here from the 19th of December, Kennedy, Father Kennedy, as a Sovereign Military Knight of Malta, had a stroke, and exactly 3 weeks before, Dulles, as a Sovereign Military Knight of Malta, was replaced and was being fired out of his office.
Yeah, that's even less than 3 weeks. It's more like 2 plus weeks. Yeah, that's really close.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, Michael.
So there are many things, if you really combine all the docs, you see that there are many things that you say that, my. I told my sister Stephanie in a German session, I said that you see that Kennedy, he was without any friends in the limousine. And she didn't get it the first time a few months ago. She said that, why, that can't be. That's very sad to say. I said, you will see that he was without the support of anybody in Dallas. So that's the first part of the Pink Panther, and oh my, there is so much coming into fruition soon. That it's really disgusting to go all in this matter or through this matter, and I can promise you that after these, I think highly likely 3 Pink Panther issues or sessions, we will go into a special script. I'm very eager to do when it comes out to the backgrounds, why it happened that way, why it happened so and not other way, and what all the symbolism has to do surrounding the assassination. And if you then see maybe the same picture that I am seeing, then you will see the things from a different perspective, and you will see that, oh yeah, sure, that's absolutely logical and spot on. I never thought about that this way. So many people, they are just writing books upon the things that, yeah, this is a witness here, witness there. No, we will only conclude on common sense, on visual approach, and on instinct and on symbolism. And then we will combine it with the Bible, and you will really see what's going on. Oh my, oh my, oh my. It's so disgusting to see how evil people are. And so I'm really signing off today. Brad, please finish the session or hand over.
Yeah, Michael. I mean, that's really, not what we expect to see when we look into matters like this. We don't expect to be disgusted, but in reality, we're on the flip side here in this study. We study the Bible here. We're not advocates for the world. We're not advocates for the hierarchy. We're nothing but Bible believers here. And we don't put our trust in man. Man is all about deception. The hierarchy is all about deception. They deceive their own people. How wicked is that? And that's enough. That's it. It's just what did Jesus call it? A den of vipers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what the power is all about. Den of vipers. You want to be a viper? Then go hang out with the vipers. Maranatha.